Hi gaming guys, and welcome to another Special Projects Replica build, and in this particular build we are doing primarily a performance replica rather than a visual one, and we do of course occasionally do these, and this particular replica is to allow you to get the kind of idea of what it would feel like if the Ferrari 599 GTO were featured on Gran Turismo, because of course we have the normal 599, and in the past in this series I also replicated the 599XX, but the GTO of course is the middle ground, if you will, between the 599 and the XX. It's more hardcore, but still very much a street car. Now visually, there's very little you can do to this car. I've opted to paint it silver, but obviously you can paint it whatever colour you want. As far as the rims, I've just gone for rims which are a little bit closer to the GTO's wheels. We can't really get exact replicas, but they're a similar style, a kind of snowflake pattern, and the particular rims that I've gone for are of course the BBS RE MG rims. So overall there's no real need to go over to the visual tuning garage, so we'll jump straight over to mechanical tuning garage of course, and then take it out of course to a racetrack to see what kind of improvements it has. Now as always of course I do like to, if at all possible, make these cars PP relevant as well, and this car certainly is. 560 PP actually isn't too high given the kind of spec and performance that this car gives you, and although many people don't realise it, the 599 is actually one of the quickest supercars in the game for acceleration. The top speed isn't that amazing, but the mid-range acceleration in particular is actually deceptively good. Now on this particular build it is of course more of a street car, so we've gone for sports tyres. We've left the brakes standard for the same reason, as we often do with these more realistic replicas. As far as the suspension, we've got the ride height on 100 front and rear. Springs we've just tightened up a little bit to 625 and 825, the dampers to 4. Anti-roll we've left on 3 as we often do. Camber and tow we've got neutral. As far as the gearbox, as far as I could find, the gearbox is essentially the same, if not the exact same unit used in the normal 599. Now that may be wrong, and as always, if you have information to say otherwise, feel free to slap that in the comments for the benefit of others. As far as the differential, we've gone for the highest initial torque. You don't have to copy this of course, this is just for my personal handling style, but I've gone for the highest initial torque, lowest acceleration and braking, and that gives the car a fairly stiff steering style overall. So if you want to loosen it up a little bit, obviously take that initial torque down and increase your acceleration and braking sensitivity. As far as the clutch, flywheel and prop shaft, we've left those standard for the same reason as the brakes. As far as power, the actual car has 661 horsepower, slightly more than the Enzo. Now we do have an oil change. We've gone for the semi-race exhaust and then reduced the power down to 98.1%. Now you can do other upgrades to get that same amount of power. I just opted for the exhaust because it also changes the sound. As far as the weight, the actual car, according to the specs that I sourced, weighs 1,495 kilos, which is not too bad for a production supercar. So we've got a stage 1 weight reduction and window weight reduction also. Then I've added a 99 kilo ballast, which we've put 10% towards the front of the car to bring us to an improved weight distribution of 48.52. So that's overall for the mechanical replica, and as I said, for its spec, 560 pp is actually quite reasonable. So the question is, how does it perform? Well, to find out, let's of course go out to the track. Now overall of course it would be nice if we could make the car look more like the GTO than we actually can, but unfortunately that's of course just not an option at the moment, and the 599 is of course a very popular model, so getting a replica like this correct is important. It always is of course, but people tend to be more vocal about cars that are really popular, and the 599 from what I can ascertain is a very widely loved choice. The main reason I think why more people don't use it is probably because the top speed in particular for racing in general isn't quite as good as it deserves to be, arguably. As a track car though, it's very good. It handles itself well, it's composed, it's not as rabid as some other Ferraris such as the Scuderia and the Enzo, And overall, if you do decide to use this replica, obviously I hope you find it fun and enjoyable to drive, and potentially even a race winner at the 560pp level. But that's it overall for this replica build. Be sure to hit subscribe down below to keep up with more of these if this interests you in the future. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.